By his willingness to negotiate an end to apartheid, Nelson Mandela changed the course of South Africa's history. He made sure that there was a peaceful transition from racial dictatorship to democracy. Now, not many people thought that was possible. Back in the 1980s, opinion polls showed that most South Africans expected a civil war in their country. Nelson Mandela was crucial to making sure that that never happened and that black majority rule came about relatively peacefully. Mandela spent 27 years in prison. Now that's crucial because that made him the one and only man who could have achieved the peaceful transition to democracy. Because he had spent so long behind bars, no black South African could question his dedication to the struggle. And for the same reason, no white South African could doubt that his gestures of reconciliation and forgiveness were heartfelt. He was the only man who could carry out the extraordinarily generous act of forgiveness that was required to bury apartheid, and to do it with relatively little bloodshed. Nelson Mandela led a tempestuous life. Before going to prison, he spent more than a decade as a hardened campaigner against apartheid. For some of that time, he lived underground. He led strikes, he led demonstrations, he was put on trial a couple of times. He was part of a core of activists who opposed apartheid with everything they had from the late 1940s onwards. In his last years, South Africans still clung to Nelson Mandela. Although he retired more than a decade before his death, although he had no real political power or behind-the-scenes influence, South Africans still prized him and valued him, because he was their living link to the great triumph of 1994 when they achieved their peaceful transition to democracy. They saw him almost as the silent guarantor of that historic settlement when South Africa achieved democracy.